It looks like they reprinted Edgar Markov, but he's a mer now. Since its release, Edgar Markov has been the go-to small vampire tribal deck. The reason is because of his Eminence ability. It says whenever you cast another vampire spell, create a 1/1 black vampire creature token. This takes place whether Edgar is on the battlefield or in the command zone. He has first strike and haste, and when he attacks, you put a 1/1 counter on each vampire you control. He costs 3 red, white, black. 6 mana in total, and the card is about $88 right now. Urtet Remnant of Memnarch says whenever you cast a mer spell, create a 1/1 colorless mer artifact creature token. At the beginning of combat on your turn, untap each mer you control. Then you can pay Wooburg and tap it to put 3 1/1 counters on each mer you control. Activate only during your turn. Unlike Edgar, Urtet's cast trigger only works when it's on the battlefield. However, it only costs 3 mana. Like Edgar, Urtet can put counters on its tribe. Edgar adds 1 when he attacks, and Urtet adds 3 for 5 mana and a tap. However, Urtet has another ability that synergizes with the nature of mer. At the beginning of combat on your turn, untap each mer you control. Mer are mostly known as creatures that tap for mana, so this particular ability combined with adding counters to them make this commander deck a potentially brutal experience. Unfortunately, the most important thing that differs between the vampires and mer tribes is their support. And speaking of support, if you like what you see so far, why don't you support what I'm doing and like and sub to the channel? It'll help the algorithm share this video to other people who might like what I'm doing and help the channel grow. Only about 9% of people watching have subbed to the channel, and it'd really help me out if you changed that. Thanks. Just looking at creatures and ignoring changelings, there are 38 mer creatures available and 348 vampire creatures available. This of course isn't including the all for one set because all of the creatures haven't been revealed yet, so just add those to this list when they're done revealing them. Until mer receives more support, this deck is going to be really limited. But even with only 38 mer available for the deck, there are ways to make the Urtet deck a fantastic threat. The first way, of course, is to simply dump counters on your mer and swing with them. And cards like Drumbellower, Seedborn Muse, and Unwinding Clock would all be great includes for that particular strategy. There's a lot of proliferate support in Phyrexia All Will Be One, so including that in this would be pretty awesome. Giving them vigilance with cards like Brave the Sands and Heliod God of the Sun, and you can tap them for mana, go to combat, untap, swing, and then tap for mana again in your second main phase, then untap again with any of our untapped cards during our opponent's steps. That's really cool and all, but if we're being honest, that's a little boring. So outside of swinging with the big mer, we could take advantage of the artifact creature tokens being created with cards like Yahira and Cryptolith Rite, and then double them up with our classic token doublers like Doubling Season and Anointed Procession to get a wide swarm of mer that can all be tapped for mana. Then just end your opponents with a huge Expel or the mer Battle Sphere. You should have a metric crap ton of untapped mer at the beginning of combat to deal that much damage when the ball gets rolling. Lastly, since Urtet is a token generator, aristocrats might be the strongest direction to take. You have access to all of the token doublers, sack outlets, and punishers. Throw in some artifact and creature recursion to get your non-token mer back from the graveyard to recast for more tokens, and you're done. It won't be that difficult to build and navigate that version of this deck. The hardest part, as with any other 5-color deck, is the mana base. Oh wait, mer tap for all colors, and this is essentially an artifact deck. Throw in the best lands you have available, and then throw in your signets and talismans to make up for the land base's weaknesses, and you're golden. Urtet isn't as strong as Edgar since it has to be on the battlefield to get the cast trigger, so it might not become an $80 card, but it makes up for that weakness in its utility for the mer tribe and the sizable number of counters it can put on all of them for 5 mana. Like Edgar, Urtet has a lot of potential for being a very strong tribal commander, and I'd argue that because of its color identity, it might be even stronger. Creature support is of course Urtet's biggest problem, but if we're lucky, we'll see many more mer released this year as the Phyrexia invasion continues to do its glorious work. Like everything else, we'll see what happens, but for now, why don't you let me know what you think of Urtet Remnant of Memnarch and this video in the comments below. Like the video if you liked the video, dislike it if you disliked it, and until next time, I'm Space Coconut, and you're welcome.